Hi everybody, my name is Jean-Philippe. You can call me JP. I teach and I do research at the University of Western Ontario in Canada, at the Richard Ivey School of Business. And I'm interested in socially contested organizations. Actually, over the last couple of years, I've been working a lot on the global weapons industry, which is not what I'm going to talk about today. Today, I want to start by asking you a question. You see on the screen behind 4 logos from 4 different organizations. And I want to ask you, what do they have in common? What do these 4 organizations have in common? And I'm going to argue today that what these 4 organizations have in common actually defines a core logic of capitalism. This is a very, very strong claim I'm making here, but it's required to have your full attention, right? But I'm going to help you out a little bit. I'm going to give you some information about this organization. The first one, the VOC, it's an acronym for the Dutch East India Company, which was the largest multinational corporation of the modern age. It operated for 200 years between 1600 and 1800. In its best years, it was achieving rates of returns on sales of about 40%. I see some jealous faces there. And it actually pioneered the international trade revolution. The second company, you all know it, it's the BBC. It was founded in the 1920s, and it was a pioneer of the analog broadcasting revolution. You probably know the third company as well, AT&T, which was a pioneer in various industries, including telecommunication networks, software, personal computer, and it was actually a pioneer of the telecom revolution. The last organization, the National Institutes of Health, have been around for about 200 years in the US, and they do a lot of research in all areas of medicine. But since the 1980s, they've been pioneering the biotech revolution through their research in genetics. Now, the funny thing about these 4 organizations is that they are all operating in territories that are uncharted. They are operating in territories that are new. The high seas in the early 17th century, the airwaves in the early 20th century, cyberspace in the mid-60s, 70s, and DNA since the 1980s are uncharted territories. There are territories that were recently discovered, explored, put together. But these territories need rules, right? And these rules need to answer 2 basic questions. Can somebody own these territories or portions of those territories? The Dutch East India Company said, yeah, sure, I can own the sea route between Amsterdam and Jakarta. I discovered that route, it's mine, I own it. The second question is, how do we share the profits that are derived from the exploitation of those territories? So you can say, well, the business that is exploiting those territories gets all the profit. Or you could say, well, the organization that discovered the territory actually should get a part of it. Or you could say, these territories actually belong to the broader society. And then you need to think again about a different way to distribute the value that is created. But what else do these organizations have in common? Well, strangely enough, they all started as monopolies. And that says something about capitalism. When capitalism expands to new territories, free trade is never the means of its expansion. Monopoly is. And that's a systematic pattern across history. And that's an interesting one. Actually, it makes sense, right? When you need to set rules, it's much easier to do so when you're the only one deciding. No negotiation, no discussion. Now, what else do they have in common? And there, it's going to get to the topic of the book project that I'm going to tell you about that I have with my colleague Rodolphe Durand from HEC Paris. Pirates! I've been practicing my R a lot. It's not that great, and I have a pain in my throat now, but I'm doing my best. All these organizations were challenged, sometimes very violently, by pirate organizations. The VOC was attacked constantly by all the Blackbeards and all the Johnny Depps of the high seas in the 17th century. The BBC was attacked by pirate radio. AT&T was attacked by hackers. And the National Institutes of Health are now facing attacks by biopirates that are manipulating DNA in ways that are judged illegitimate. Actually, these pirate organizations always appear in a systematic fashion every time capitalism expands on new territories. And what they claim is a different way of setting the rules, setting the norms of exchange on these territories. They want decentralized control. They want these territories to be recognized a common good of mankind. This is the claims that they're making, these pirates. So, what am I telling you all this? Because it says something about the way innovation works in capitalist societies. Every time capitalism expands to new territories, these territories need rules. And there's two types of organizations that struggle to define the rules. State organizations, governments, and pirate organizations. And out of this struggle comes a new set of rules. But you need to think as business leaders where you stand. If you're operating on these new territories, you need to think with whom you need to ally or not ally. You need to take the long view. You need to see the broader picture. Because a lot of innovation in the industries that are rooted in these territories come from pirate organizations. Think of the early business model in the radio industry. What the BBC was proposing between the 1920s and the 1960s, where it stopped being a monopoly, was unbelievable. They thought that radio was a means to educate the good people of the UK, nothing else. So they were imposing religious programs and classical music. That was it. There was nothing else. And you were supposed to listen to these programs sitting in your kitchen with your family in silence, no more than 2 hours a day, and then you were supposed to discuss what you had heard on the BBC. No commercials, no choice, no rock and roll, nothing. Is this the radio as you know it? No. And the reason why is because the business model that was first proposed by the BBC is not the one that succeeded. And none of the business model proposed in early stages by the four organizations I mentioned eventually succeeded, because the innovations that shaped all the markets and all the industries rooted in the territories I talked about were brought about by pirate organizations. Now, I want to say a few words about that book project. So far, it's only in French. But what we wanted to do with my co-author is to involve our readers. We wanted to create a common good. So what we did is that we used our author's royalties to finance the production of a musical composition. So we worked with a French band, an experimental rock band called Chevreuil, that is usually produced by Steve Albini. And they composed a song based on the book. The song is called The Pirate Organization, and it's available under a Creative Commons license on our website. And the readers can actually download the song as a whole or track by track so that they can remix the song and upload new versions of the song on the website. We also implemented different initiatives to involve our readers. So on several occasions, we made significant portions of the book available for free in electronic formats so that the readers could send us feedback. And so the translation of the book that is going to come out at Harvard Publishing in spring 2012 is not just a translation. It's a different book. It's a book that takes into account all the comments, all the suggestions that helped us improve the book. And so we really were trying to build a community with our readers here. Now, I'm aware that every business presentation should end with a takeaway message. So I have three. The first one is we're still looking for a band to work with us in the US. So if you guys have any ideas, drop me a line. The second one is I would like to thank German philosopher Hegel for putting together this incredible brand, Zeitgeist, and also for forgetting to trademark it. So now we can all use it for the greater good of mankind. And third, I would like you to take the long view, as Dr. Eric Schmidt said yesterday. You have to take the long view. Stop thinking only about your business. Think about your industry. Think about the territory in which your industry is rooted. What rules would you like for this industry? What rules would you like for this territory in the future? You have to think about that. So don't be evil to your industry's pirates. Thank you very much.